bench is mahogany. The folder has his photograph. He folds his glasses. His clerk is waiting for the sign. He finds the same jaw, the same hands, the way he holds a cigarette, and signs with a pen he used to sign the birth certificate. He hammered down the gavel on 100 guilty men, 100 men, and every verdict taught him how to feel less than before. Oh Lord, a judge who sentences his son has sentenced himself first. A man that's right about the law has no idea what justice costs. What it costs. 7 years ago the boy sat across the kitchen table. Said, "Dad, I've changed," he answered. "Son, I see the evidence." On the fridge, a crayon drawing of a gavel with his name engraved in yellow on the handle. Courtroom fills. He takes the bench. His son doesn't look up. He reads the number, not the name. Maximum adjourns, drives home. The drawing's still there. The coffee's cold. He hammered down the gavel on 100 guilty men, and every verdict taught him how to feel less than before. A judge who sentences his son has sentenced himself first. A man that's right about the law has no idea what justice costs. No idea, no idea. He'll be on the bench again tomorrow. A judge who can't be wrong in court is just a man who's always right. Oh, and always alone. I've been pouring at this bar since 1983. 40 years of last calls, every kind of misery. I've heard confessions here that priests would blanch to know. I've watched men walk out steady and come back moving slow. The night it happened, I was working the far end. 2 o'clock half empty, maybe 7 souls, and then she came in with that man that wasn't her husband's face, and sat down in the corner like she owned the place. I knew her from before, knew her husband too. Good man came in on Fridays, always tipped me through, Lord. She ordered something dark, and he ordered something bright, and I cleaned the bar and pretended it was any other night. An hour in, I saw him reach across and take her hand. She looked at it like something she had carefully planned. I should have said we're closing, should have called the man. Instead I poured another round and played the hired hand. What the barkeep saw stays behind the bar.
Behind the bar.
That's the code I kept, and that's the code that left a scar. I could have made one phone call, could have broken what they built. Instead I held the bottle, and I poured myself the guilt.
Poured myself the guilt.
4 months on he came in, and I knew before he spoke, the way a man sits different when his whole world's been revoked. He didn't ask me nothing, just sat down at his stool, ordered what he always ordered, quiet as a rule. I stood there with a glass in hand and felt the whole night come. That corner table over there, the 2 of them I dumb. Oh, I said the usual, he nodded, didn't look my way. I poured the drink and let the silence have its say. He moved away the following spring. I heard they sold the house. She's still in town, I think, still comes by now and then. Not to my bar, the new one, down by 2nd and Main. Lord have mercy, I kept the code of what I saw and what I didn't say. And every time I polish these same glasses to this day, I think about that Friday night. He came in, tipped me well, said good weekend, see you Monday. Oh Lord, I said take care, farewell. I knew by then what Monday brings. A barkeep knows his trade. I polished glasses, said nothing, and I let the damage stay. What the barkeep saw stays behind the bar. behind the bar. That's the code I kept, and that's the code that left a scar. I could have made one phone call, could have broken what they built, Instead I held the bottle, and I poured myself the guilt, 40 years of last calls, every kind of face, some things you can unlearn, oh, some things you can't erase, can't erase, can't erase, can't erase, can't erase. I found the town by accident, off exit 43, a diner with a broken sign that said pie and coffee free. She was working the morning shift, hair up, eyes too bright. Said you look like you drove all night, boy. I said most of my life. She laughed at that in a way I hadn't heard since I was someone's reason to come home. She poured my coffee twice without me asking, and I stopped feeling so alone. There's a little white chapel on the edge of her town. The paint's been peeling since her grandmother put it down. I sat in the back pew on a Sunday in July, and thought maybe a drifter can stop drifting if he tries. She showed me where the deer come, down by the old creek bend. She made me something on a Sunday that tasted like a beginning. Her father came by Tuesday, looked at me hard and slow, said, "Son, what is your line of work?" I said, "I don't quite know." He didn't say much after, just handed me a beer. Her mother made me feel at home in a home that wasn't here. I stayed 3 months and some weeks more than I had ever stayed. I learned which floorboard creaked to two. I learned the way she prayed. Oh, she started putting things of mine beside the things of hers. And that's the moment, Lord, when the old road always stirs. There's a little white chapel on the edge of her town. The paint's been peeling since her grandmother put it down. I sat in the back pew on a Sunday in July, and something in me always knew a drifter can't stay dry.
Can't stay dry.
I left before the sunrise on a cold October day. She had her coffee waiting, I just couldn't stay. Not because she wasn't good, not because she wasn't right, but a man who's made a leaving doesn't stop it overnight. I left her half a letter on the diner countertop. Lord, said I'm sorry that I'm built this way. Said I don't know how to stop. Said the chapel's real pretty. Said she deserved the kind of man who could sit in the front pew and mean it when he planned. There's a little white chapel on the edge of her town. The paint's been peeling since her grandmother put it down. I sat in the back pew on a Sunday in July, and left before I learned to mean the things I tried to try. Exit 43. I don't go back that way.
Don't go back.
A man with dust on every altar keeps moving every day.
Keeps moving, keeps moving.
I keep the door shut mostly now. The way she left it that last day. Backpack on the second hook, the blue one, faded blue. Drawings on the window glass from winter making frost start. I haven't wiped the glass since March. I'm afraid to lose the last heart. The night it happened I was working 3 states and a cell signal short. She called once around 11. I let it go to voicemail. Lord, I told myself I'd call her back. I told myself she'd wait. I've told myself a lot of things that came to me too late. The neighbor called the sheriff called my phone. I was closing out a sales deal in a hotel room alone. Oh, I made it back in 7 hours. The drive was longer than my life. The house was full of people, and my daughter wasn't inside. I keep the light on in her room, keep it on, in case some part of her comes back to find a way. I keep the stuffed bear on the pillow where she always lay. Her name is still in marker on the door. I couldn't say on the door. A father with an empty room is just a man who lost his way. Lost his way. I went to grief support on Tuesdays for a while. They asked me what I felt and I said nothing for a mile. They said that was okay, said it would come in its own time. I nodded and I drove home, and I sat outside the shrine. The shrine's the door I'm talking about, the one with all the gifts from people who meant well and people who meant less. I took them all inside one morning, put them in a box. She had a way of organizing things by color, then by clock. Voicemail still on my phone from the call I let ring through. 11:32 p.m. a Tuesday in the blue. I've played it every morning since the sheriff came and said she calls me daddy in it, my daughter from the dead. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Ask me if I'm coming home, says don't work too long, okay. Says she saved me half a dinner, Lord have mercy. Says I love you daddy, I love you daddy. Says good night, I keep the light on in her room, keep it on, in case some part of her comes back to find a way. I keep the stuffed bear on the pillow where she always lay. Her name is still in markup on the door I couldn't say. A father with an empty room is just a man who lost his way. Lost his way, lost his way, lost his way. I learned to read a poker face before I learned to read the word. My daddy dealt in whiskey debts my mother never heard. 20 years of 7 cards, and I can tell the tales, the twitch behind the eyelid when a man's afraid he'll fail. She used to sit beside me in the early easy days, a judge's daughter warning me she had too much to lose. I told her love is gambling, darling, everyone's a card. She laughed and laid her hand down, and I should have played it hard. The dealer doesn't care about the story that you bring, no he don't. The cards don't love you back, no matter what you're offering. I had, and lost the only game. Lost the only game. She left in November, when the last account ran dry. Said she loved me like a habit, but she'd finally learned to try. I sat back at the table, like the table was the truth, like the four walls of a card room were the only thing I knew. My boy called from his mother's on a Tuesday. I was in. Said, Dad, I've got a school play. Will you come and watch me win? Lord, I said, son, I've got a prior engagement. Something came up fast. Hung the phone up and I ordered one more whiskey, one more laugh. It doesn't ask you why, doesn't ask about your marriage or your father's last goodbye. Oh, doesn't ask about the night you chose the table over home. Doesn't ask you why you're always more comfortable alone. 3 a.m. comes honest, when the other men have gone, when the dealer starts to stack the chips, Lord have mercy, and turns the bright lights on. You see yourself in Felton Ash, a man who's played too long. The dealer doesn't care about the story that you bring. No, he don't. The cards don't love you back, no matter what you're offering. I bet a father's silence, and I raised him with her name. Oh, turned over everything I had and lost the only game. The only game, the only game. There's a pawn ticket in my pocket, from a ring that used to shine. Some men count their losses after. Oh, some men just count time. Just count time. Just count time. Just count time. They threw a party in the yard when I came home in June. Yellow ribbons on the mailbox, balloons up to the moon. My mother held me like I'd never left it all. My father shook my hand and said, "Son, you stood tall." But standing in the kitchen, where I learned to tie my shoes, I kept seeing Marcus drop into the morning desert dew. He called my name before he went, said, "Jimmy, don't you look." I looked anyway, God help me, and I've been paying ever since. They asked me how it felt to be back on American ground. I smiled and said, "It's good to be home, safe and sound." But home's a word that means something different now. When you left pieces of yourself in the sand somehow. I came home in one piece, but I left the rest behind. Left it behind. Every firework sounds like something I can't get out of my mind. My welcome home was roses, theirs was desert storm. I made it to the doorstep, but I haven't made it home. Haven't made it home. The VA gave me pills that put a fog across the day. The counselor said trauma takes a lot of time to fade. I told him I was fine, told him I was dealing well. The only ones who know what's wrong are the ones already fell. Marcus had a daughter, she turned 4 last March. I think I wrote a letter to his wife and never found the ink. What do you say to someone when your hands are while she's there? What do you say at all when words feel so unfair? They lit up fireworks on the 4th of July night. I sat out on the porch steps and I tried to hold on tight. My hands were shaking, something I don't talk about out loud. I saw their faces in the smoke rising through the crowd. Marcus, Davis, Reyes, Lord of mercy. 3 names I carry daily, like dog tags, made of guilt, like dog tags. They built a wall in Washington with all our names up there. I found mine near the bottom, and I stood and couldn't bear. I came home in one piece, but I left the rest behind. Left it behind. Every firework sounds like something I can't get out of my mind. My welcome home was roses, theirs was desert storm. Desert storm. I made it to the doorstep, but I haven't made it home. The ribbon's off the mailbox now. The balloons are long since gone. A soldier sleeping in his childhood bed, still fighting wars at dawn. Still fighting. Still fighting. Still fighting. 40 years I held this Bible like a shield against the dark. 40 years these hands baptized the broken and the scarred. Every Sunday morning I stood taller than my sin. Every Sunday morning let the congregation in. But I started watching how she sat in the third pew. White dress on a Wednesday, eyes that cut me through. Lord have mercy, I told myself it's nothing, told myself it's fine. A shepherd doesn't falter, a man of God's divine. I preached the wages of sin while I was earning mine, oh Lord. I quoted scripture at midnight while a candle burned my shrine. The collection plate went empty when I took what wasn't mine. A preacher with a secret is just a man who's running out of time. Running out of time. She came to me for counsel in the autumn of her grief. Her husband gone, her children lost. She needed some relief. I gave her scripture first, then comfort, then my name. And somewhere in the giving, I forgot why pastors came. The deacon saw us leaving, said he'd pray about it hard. Next Sunday morning I stood up and preached about the scar. No, 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 the words came out like vomit, full of bile and hollow grace. She sat in her same pew, never looking at my face. They found her letter in the hymnals after Thursday's prayer. She'd written down the whole of it, confessed what happened there. Oh, the congregation gathered on a Sunday cold and still. I stood behind the pulpit and I tried to say God's will. The words died in my throat, Lord. The words just wouldn't come. Lord, have mercy on me. A man who preaches heaven has no business going on. I preach the wages of sin while I was earning mine, oh Lord. I quoted scripture at midnight while a candle burned my shrine. The collection plate went empty when I took what wasn't mine. A preacher with a secret is just a man who's out of time. Out of time. The church is dark and empty now. The Bible's on the floor. man of God without his flock is just a man, no more. Just a man, no more. Just a man.